For years, Manny Pacquiao was seen as the greatest Asian fighter on the planet. But as he grew older and left his prime years behind him, Naoya Inoue has undoubtedly taken that crown. Both of these guys ply their trade in the lighter weight classes, and both have absolutely no fear when it comes to stepping up and fighting bigger opponents. And so, with the legend Pacquiao set to return against Mario Barrios in July, and Inoue looking likely to take on Murodjon Akhmadaliev in September, let's take a look at some of their greatest performances. This is Fighting is Art. Let's go. There was a time when people genuinely thought that Stephen Fulton Jr. was a threat to Naoya Inoue. Sure, Fulton was elite, but he was about to get a lesson about levels. It was by no means a clear round, but Inoue was looking confident from the get-go. Round 2. Inoue started to find his momentum pretty early on this time around, pressing the action pretty quickly. Inoue began to play to the crowd, already looking like a dominant force at this early stage. Fulton just didn't seem to have an answer for Inoue's pressure and offensive dynamism. Coming in round 3, it was obvious that Inoue was pulling ahead and that Fulton was running out of ideas. Fulton's corner obviously had told him to pressure Inoue, but even that didn't work. It wasn't just a bad round for Stephen Fulton Jr., it was an utterly flat one too. Round 4. Inoue was the only one landing anything of substance, and Fulton was basically losing every head-to-head battle before it even started. Inoue wasn't just landing his own damage either. He was making Fulton miss, and miss big. This was no scrub either. Inoue was styling on a legitimately world-class fighter. When round 5 came, you could tell that Inoue was ready to step on the gas. Inoue was still several steps ahead of his opponent here, and Fulton's confidence must have been wilting at this stage. Inoue was proving that he was very clearly in the running for pound #1 honors here. Inoue's accuracy was off the charts in this fight, as perfect offense and perfect defense combined. No matter how the judges were scoring this, it was clear that a gap was forming. The crowd could sense that something was about to kick off. These were fast, hard, and accurate shots, but the real killing blows would not be thrown just yet. There's a reason why even the great Mike Tyson was in awe of this dude. Even as Inoue got tagged, he immediately tried to hit Fulton back. Fulton was getting stalked now. Inoue had picked up all the data he needed to open up and land that one fighting ending shot. The combos Inoue was throwing went from body to head seamlessly, and you could tell he was putting an extra 10% power into them in this round. The inevitable end would come for Fulton in round 8 when Inoue decided to take him out once and for all. When Inoue found his moment, the resulting knockdown was lethal. To his credit, Fulton got back up, but he was just delaying his eventual doom. Once Inoue realized that he would swarm and finish, the bout was over in a matter of seconds. A true masterclass over a legit opponent. What happens when two of the grittiest and most electric fighters of their era meet in the... By round 2, Pacquiao's speed was already a factor. In a fight with a guy like Cotto, defense is always going to be just as important as attack. Even at this early stage, it was obvious that they were both willing to leave it all out there. The crowd were very clearly loving this one. Within seconds of round 3's opening, Manny stormed forth and these guys were keeping a fiery pace in round 4. But once again, it was Pacquiao who found his mark the quickest, scoring his second knockdown of the fight. Manny was really hitting a flow state in these middle rounds.
The way Pacquiao is. Look at Pacquiao. Isn't he a beautiful machine? And he can punch.
Any questions over his power translating to this heavier division were being put to bed round by round.
Right hand does not have the striking power. Manny comes from all angles with power.
But Cotto certainly still had his moments. Round 6 came and these two were still showing no signs of slowing down. A frenetic pace like this would be hard to keep up for most fighters. But Manny Pacquiao and Miguel Cotto are not most fighters. Neither man would give an inch, neither would back down.
Went down again on a suck by Pacquiao. And Cotto tries to finish the round.
Surely Cotto's will to compete would fade eventually.
That's the 2, Pacquiao, but Pacquiao with a 4-point lead. Hard right hook by Pacquiao. Left uppercut by Pacquiao.
It was in this round that Pacquiao started walking him down.
Seferino Garcia.
How do you deal with a fighter that quick, that powerful, that technical?
What was that old saw?
This was the Manny Pacquiao show, through and through.
Absolutely. Just as he was in the late rounds against...
He was coming at Cotto from angles that baffled him in every exchange.
But now Pacquiao's backing him off again. Got him against the ropes. Tries to end it with one big...
Speed kills, and Cotto's disadvantage in this department was really having an effect. And you could tell in round 9 that Manny sensed the finish was near.
Uppercut. Cotto backs into the corner. He's in big trouble now.
But we gotta give credit to Cotto for his insane toughness. Cotto's corner needed to see more, and sure enough, his lion heart allowed him to fight on, showing some life in round 10.
Looks like the first half will get one more round after that.
But he was way behind on the scorecards and needed something truly huge.
Head on speed. Once again, that truism rises to the top.
How much damage should Cotto be expected to take here? That was the real question. Whenever Pacquiao cornered him, the results were usually brutal. Bloodied, battered, bruised, but still not quite beaten, Cotto officially made it to round 12. Even Pacquiao was motioning to the ref that this fight was getting pointless.
Pacquiao looking at Bayless now as if to say, what?
And when he landed his next big punch, referee Kenny Bayless agreed with him.
Including head trainer Joe Santiago. Now Kenny Bayless does his duty.
A huge win in a massive pay-per-view fight. A strong run of form led Paul Butler into the ring with the monster, Inoue. The expected feeling-out process that followed allowed Inoue to make his reads. Butler was slowly going to realize just how far behind he was in many key areas, especially when it came to speed. Paul Butler was little more than a punching bag for Naoya in this opening round. Inoue was saving his good stuff for the later rounds, but that didn't mean he wasn't going to open up on Butler from time to time. In these opening rounds, Butler was kind of frozen in terms of his output. If one thing was certain, it's that Butler needed to get something going for himself. Inoue clearly did not fear this man at all. The process repeated itself. Follow Butler as he moved backwards, corner him, and then rip him to the body and head. Butler just couldn't avoid getting trapped by his opponent. And when Inoue pounced forth with power shots, he was in very little danger of a response. There was clearly some real apprehension from Butler about engaging Inoue directly. Even as Butler's corner tried to encourage their fighter, it wasn't working. Butler was falling increasingly behind with each passing exchange. When round 6 came, Inoue started to get really loose. You could even see him begin to taunt his opponent a bit. Butler must have been wondering why the hell he signed to take this fight in the first place. Every solid moment for Butler was met with a swift reply from Inoue. If Butler had engaged a little more, there's no doubt Naoya would have KO'd him by now. Landing cleanly on Inoue was becoming a huge problem for Butler. Yeah, Inoue clearly didn't have a care in the world. Closing out round 9, you could argue that Inoue had won every single round up to that point. Even when he landed, Butler's shots were ineffective. Inoue just couldn't quite get Butler to commit to a full trade in the pocket. To say that this was one-way traffic would be an understatement. Although you gotta respect Butler's commitment to holding on. Inoue wasn't necessarily landing the most devastating shots, but it was the accumulation of damage. And when Inoue finally pulled the trigger, it was brutal. This was a totally one-sided beatdown, and the ref knew better than to send Butler back out there. How would a fighter like Pacquiao deal with a taller, longer, and heavier opponent like the mighty Antonio Margarito? Punching upwards at a taller fighter's chin is always awkward for the smaller man.
Power, does it not?
Yes, it does.
So he has a better chance to affect Margarito with his normal power if Margarito hunches over.
But Pacquiao is a technical master that few could rival.
Exclusively jabs in the first round. Pacquiao with a good.
And he began to find his range early.
I see a lot of pictures with the jabs on Margarito's foot.
Manny's foot speed and hand speed were becoming real issues for him early on.
Margarito still content to stand in the middle of the ring and box with Manny Pacquiao.
Pacquiao was stepping into range, doing damage, and exiting, although he did look vulnerable in moments.
Could be a factor in the fight. Pacquiao beginning to focus a little more.
Even when Margarito did advance, he was running into counter shots.
South of lightweight.
Margarito's jab was proving to be an interesting challenge for Manny to overcome, but Pacquiao has always been great at adapting.
First 3 rounds, Margarito's jab is bothering Pacquiao. Good, straight left hand by Pacquiao.
Excellent counter shots were the name of the game for Manny in the third.
By Pacquiao, landed on the chin.
Manny's flurries were the perfect showcase for his insane hand speed.
Press the action, Pacquiao hits him flush with a big left hand. And then
Antonio tried to claim that Manny was incapable of hurting him, but round 4 told us something very different.
to land with almost every punch.
Some sick work to the body really started to compound the damage for Margarito.
Wrong. And has to hurt him with a body punch. He's beating Margarito up in this round. It's a huge blow to Margarito.
However, his response in round 5 was pretty damn good.
Margarito going to the body against the ropes. That was the first moment that Margarito actually
But Manny immediately fired back.
fight against Cotto. And here comes Pacquiao. As always, he loves to answer back.
As always, Pacquiao made a point of getting the last word in, ending the round strongly.
Straight left-hand shots for Pacquiao, staggering Margarito momentarily there. Big right hook. Great shot.
But out of nowhere, Margarito sprung forth with his best spell of the whole fight.
Now Margarito catches Pacquiao twice, and Manny finally is able
And while he didn't daze Manny per se, he still made a statement in this round.
for a moment the advantage of having Pacquiao against the ropes. This is Pacquiao's nightmare. Locked in a trap against the money.
Despite the rocky moments, most people still scored round 6 for Pacquiao.
Compared to the other rounds.
Yeah.
But he really didn't win it, but a lot of judges do that just to keep him in the fight, so to say.
Even when faced with this giant, Manny never seemed to be less eager to be offensive in his approach.
I've covered boxing for 24 years. Ray Leonard from ringside, and this is the best offensive fighter I've ever seen.
We witnessed some insane offense on both sides in round 8.
Fight. Margarito banging him against the ropes here, trying to get to Pacquiao's body. That could change the fight. Pacquiao
Manny somehow came out on top of these exchanges, despite being 17 pounds lighter on fight night.
fighting back with his back on the ropes,
And here comes
and he
Manny.
turns it around and bangs Margarito viciously.
The crowd certainly got their money's worth.
Miguel said this was going to be a very tough fight. As I was saying, I thought that Pacquiao had to edge. He said, man, he may have edge, but it's going to be a hard fight.
Even with fatigue creeping in, Manny was in top form. Fighting a man that size is gonna be a grueling affair for anyone.
He can absorb the punches a little better than a smaller guy, but a regular 140-pounder, I think Manny would have knocked out.
And for Margarito, keeping up with Pacquiao's insane speed was a big ask.
Unless somebody wants to stop the fight because of that right eye.
The more this fight went on, the more it became clear that Margarito's insane toughness was the only thing keeping it afloat.
Pacquiao said, leave it there. I want to use it as a target.
And Manny knew he had probably won every round so far.
That's a fighter.
With a machine.
Late in the round, Manny nailed his target with a truly huge jab.
What a jab. That's one of the biggest jabs I've ever seen.
With a right hook, he didn't see it coming.
Even Pacquiao was motioning to the ref to put Margarito out of his misery here. The sheer amount of punishment was becoming scary at this point.
Can one man take?
Pacquiao had very little left to prove coming into the final round.
For shots he's taking now. Flush on an already badly.
In reality, this fight should have been stopped. Manny seemed to be taking a merciful approach in round 12, taking his foot off the gas.
Doesn't seem eager to hit Margarito anymore.
He does look like he's carrying Margarito right now.
It's much like Joe Calzaghe
Some of the
did.
greatest.
He basically carried Antonio Margarito through that final round, opting not to put any further damage on him.
This is Manny Pacquiao, the congressman. Manny Pacquiao, the cultural icon. Manny Pacquiao, the citizen of the world. That's the man.
A masterful performance through and through. But what are your predictions for Pacquiao and Inoue's crucial upcoming matchups? And Prime versus Prime, who do you think would win in a fight?